Welcome to Show Me Something Wrong.
Where each episode one of us chooses a movie to watch that the other hasn't seen. The movie is often obscure, usually odd, and always wrong.
I'm Guy.
I'm Dave, and today I've chosen the movie, and I have to read a lot of titles now, and it's
Is there a few? Okay.
The Murder Secret, with the original title, it's going to be some bad Italian, are you ready? Non aver paura della zia Mata.
Sounds pretty legit to me.
AKA The Broken Mirror. AKA Don't Be Afraid of Aunt Martha. Probably the best title.
That's pretty good, actually, yeah.
I think that's what the Italian would translate to.
Don't Be Afraid of Aunt Martha?
I think so.
That would make more sense.
Yeah. And AKA, most excitingly, Lucio Fulci presents The Murder Secret. It's from Italy, 1988, directed by Mario Bianchi. Okay, so, yes, let's just call it The Murder Secret.
That was a lot of titles.
That was a lot of titles, so
yeah.
we're just going to call it The Murder Secret.
Is that what it's primarily known as?
I mean, that's what I know it as. I see The Broken Mirror getting thrown around quite a bit as well, but yeah, I know it as The Murder Secret. So I'm just going to call it that.
Let's just go with The Murder Secret.
So this film is not directed by Fulci. It's directed by Mario Bianchi. Have you ever heard of him before?
No, I haven't.
I don't think I've seen anything else by him, but he's pretty prolific.
Only because I don't search anything prior to recording, as per our rules.
Yeah. But yeah,
Mario...
he's been working since the 60s, and he's made pretty much everything from westerns to sexploitation.
Oh, he did Satan's Baby Doll.
Yeah, that's his most famous
I've seen
film.
that.
Yeah. So, and yeah, of course, he's worked a lot in horror as well. So yeah, this isn't a Fulci film, but it is Fulci adjacent. And to be fair, his name is the first thing you see as the film opens. So I figured this is like a good chance for us to talk a little bit about Lucio Fulci, because we probably never will be able to watch one of his films.
I think we've both
seen them all.
exhausted his entire filmography, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what your relationship with Fulci is, but I fucking love Lucio Fulci, and he was like, I consider him my entry point into, I don't know, like more fucked up, violent kind of horror when I was a teen boy. How about you?
Oh no, I'm totally in the same boat. I think, yeah, when I was a teenager, I saw, well, in the UK at least, it's known as zombie flesh eaters. What's that known as in Australia?
I mean, I've always known it as zombie. But I remember
Zombie 2 is the...
That's the Italian title, because it's like a sequel to Dawn of the Dead, which is called Zombie in Italy. Very confusing. Maybe in America it's just called Zombie, right?
Is it?
Yeah, I think in Australia it's probably called Zombie Flesh Eaters as well.
Right. Yeah, so I picked that up when I was a teenager. And then from then I delved into the fantastic world of Fulci. Of course, doing his Gates of Hell trilogy.
Oh, so great.
Which blew my mind.
I remember the first time I watched Zombie or Zombie Flesh Eaters, I rented it from the video store. And I'm like, here we go, fucking finally get to see this. And I knew about the eyeball scene and stuff like that. And then it was getting up to that scene. But kind of before that, I'm like, man, this film's not very violent.
Right.
There's no gore. Like it didn't have any like blood or anything. So I'm like, what's going on here? And then it gets to the eyeball scene. I'm like, all right, here we go. And then the eye gets closer to the splinter of wood, and then the camera just cut. I'm like, oh right, it's just like heavily censored.
They butchered it. They fucked
in
it.
Australia. So it took me quite a while to see the uncut version.
I think I might be wrong, but I think the first time I saw it, I bought a box set, a DVD box set of it, and it was known as Box of the Banned. That's how it was a box set of all these banned films that was banned from the Video Nasties list, and then which eventually got a re-release in England. And I think within that box set, it had like Evil Dead, Zombie Flesh Eaters. I think Driller Killer was in it, and then the Witch Who Came from the Sea.
Oh, right. That was a Video Nasty as well? What the fuck?
I mean, there was two of these box sets, so I might be getting the titles mixed up a bit. But that was the first time I saw a lot of those films.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a very slippery slope.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's all just been a haze since then, a haze of blood and gore.
It is like kind of amazing to think back to then. Maybe my favorite Lucio Fulci kind of story of when I was first getting into him was I really wanted to see the New York Ripper. And this is, back, like 20 years ago or more, when I was, buying very overly priced DVDs, like imported from America, because none of this stuff was out in Australia at the time. And there's this one shop in Melbourne, still there now I think, called Minotaur, and it was like a pop culture store, and they had all of like the Fulci DVDs, but they were like $60 or $70.
That's wild.
Yeah, and I would save up to buy them. And I was saving up for New York Ripper. I'm like, fuck yeah, finally get to watch New York Ripper. I saved up like $60 or whatever it was for the DVD, and I must have been like 15 or so at the time. And I went in to buy it all excited, and then the guy at the store was like, "You can't buy this. You're 15. You can't buy New York Ripper." I was like, "Fuck." So I called up my brother's friend who lived in the city. I'm like, who was an adult. I'm like, "Could you come to Minotaur and buy a DVD for me?" And he walked in and like, with me there as well, and just bought it from the same guy and handed it over to me. But I remember watching New York Ripper, and now something like that probably wouldn't affect me that much. But at the time, I was so shocked by that film in particular.
Oh yeah,
of all of his
that
films.
one packs a few punches. I think with like he's great because he kind of delves into fantasy a lot of the time, doesn't he? Same with The Gates of Hell and Zombies as well, and Cat in the Brain, which is fucking bizarre. But it's not just like straight up slasher stuff. It's always fantasy mixed in, which is I absolutely love. But New York Ripper is a brutal one.
It's just a gross film as well. Like, it's so seedy. But yeah, I love all of his whole career, basically. Like, I think everything he's done is really interesting, and I even love, and I think maybe you're not so much a fan, but I love his later sort of stuff as well.
You know,
remember, maybe we've talked about...
I don't think I've seen his later films, and I don't think I've actually seen his non-horror films.
Okay, yeah. Some of his non-horror stuff is some of his comedies I've watched, and
I wouldn't fancy a Fulci directed comedy.
Do you know what though? There's one that is really great. Oh my god, what's it called? I think it's called The Eroticist. At least that's the American title.
Right.
It might also be called like The Ambassador Loves Women or something like that, like some other title. That's pretty funny, that film. Genuinely pretty amazing. I think it's like 70s era. But yeah, his later films get really cheap, and he kind of lost a lot of his main crew members, the guys that kind of made his films look and sound really great. But they have a kind of weird, hazy soap opera vibe to them that I really fucking love. Have you seen Touch of Death?
Ooh, I need to look it up. I'm not sure if I have.
Of all of his films, so that's like a later one, maybe. Yeah, it's 88 as well. Actually, we're going to talk about it a bit for this film as well. But that film for me is like the perfect example of how fucking crazy his films got.
Right.
Where it's just this guy just killing women with deformities, and it's so fucked up and misogynistic.
That wouldn't get made today, would it?
It's vicious and horrible.
Jesus.
And kind of artless in a way that Fulci's films are not. You know, like his films are always kind of beautiful looking and amazing, but this film's just bleak and fucked, but it's kind of amazing, and it's a black comedy.
That sounds like something for the podcast. I've not seen that.
Have you not seen that?
I don't. Now that
we're definitely
you described that, I don't think I've seen that. That sounds fucking nuts.
Well, maybe we will come back to.
Well, don't tell me too much. Don't tell me too much. Right, let's get the ball moving on the murder secret.
So, yeah, but before we do that, I want to kind of go into the production of this film.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued,
and why this is connected to Fulci. And it's pretty interesting. And I said to you last episode, you have definitely seen shots from this film before watching it. I guarantee it.
Right.
And we'll find out why soon.
Okay.
So, all right, let's go back to 1988.
Right.
Okay. And there's a production company called Alpha Cinema... cinematographic. Wait, how do I? My brain's gone. My brain's fried.
My God, he's having a stroke.
I'm having a stroke. The productions company is called Alpha Cinematographica. How do I pronounce that?
I don't know. So where am I looking? Cinematographica. I don't know.
Oh, you said it perfectly.
Was that it?
Yeah. That sounds great. Anyway, let's just call it Alpha from now on. So this production company, it was headed up by a guy called Carlo Alberto Alfieri. And yeah, it's a lot of L's in there. There's a lot of L's. So he's a producer and writer of that time. He made a couple of interesting things, mostly not very interesting things.
Right.
And this company was owned by a guy called Augusto fucking Italian names, god damn it. Augusto Caminito. And he was like also a writer, producer, and a director. And yeah, he worked right up until his kind of recent death. And he produced some pretty crazy stuff. He produced that film King of New York.
What?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
You know, that Christopher Walken, what's his name? Abel Ferrara film. So he produced that. And he also produced Fulci's film Murder Rock. If you've seen that one. And yeah, so anyway, these two guys had this company and they wanted to do this project called, fucking more Italian. This is going to be such a nightmare for this episode. So their project was called I Maestri del Thriller.
Oh, it sounds sexy.
Which translates to Maestros of the Thriller. Mm. Okay, so this was this company.
That was their
project,
background. Okay, all right.
So they set up this project, and the idea of this project is they would hire maestros of the thriller. Oh, so all these directors. Right. So it's kind of like Masters of Horror.
Was it going to be like an omnibus kind of thing, or
just like films that were all connected by this one title, right? Okay. So like with that as the umbrella of these films, yeah. Like like Masters of Horror, that series. I guess kind of like that,
right?
But this is in '88, so long before that. The directors they got include the director of this, Mario Bianchi, also guys like Enzo Milioni, and a guy called Giovanni Simonelli, who I think wrote all of the films in the series as well. And if you look at his filmography, you'd be like, oh yeah, I've seen quite a few of those.
Oh, so this production actually came to life. They made this Masters of Thriller.
Yeah. And just hired a bunch of guys to make these films, and all the scripts, I guess this one guy just pumped out scripts for these films. And yeah, Lucio Fulci was invited on board initially as a supervisor to kind of oversee the project. But then he ultimately ended up directing 2 films from this series. Okay. So overall, there's 8 films. 2 of them are by Fulci. Mm-hmm. One of them is Sodom is Ghost. Have you seen that film?
Oh, I might have.
Ghosts of Sodom is the other title. It's got some Nazis in it.
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
It's one of my least favorite Fulci films. It's not very good. And the other film was Touch of Death, the one I just mentioned before, which is fucking great and one of the most disgusting films I've ever seen.
We'll have to do that. Yep.
So, like, these films are violent, fucked up, horrible films, but they were not made for the cinema. They were made for television, these films.
That makes so much sense that you say that. Oh my God.
So
I have a lot of notes about the film we watched, but now that you said that makes a lot of sense.
So they're made for TV, which does make sense in an aesthetic sense, but also, what the fuck are you doing putting so much gore in a film that's meant for TV? So that was the goal, was the television market, and then probably home video after that, and maybe cinema, but good luck with that. But then upon finishing the films, they got no distribution at all. Right. Initially.
Did they get aired on TV?
No. They were not accepted to be aired on TV.
When you said they finished the films, like, did they make them all at once? Or
in sporadic? 1 year, they made all of these
They made 6 films in 1 year. 8 films in a year.
88, yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So this is where it gets kind of confusing here, and I can't give you exact answers to what happened. But basically, they weren't screened on TV. That didn't work out.
No surprises there.
And in some kind of convoluted mess of like contracts and distribution companies, all that kind of shit, a company called Formula Home Video released them on VHS, and they repackaged the film. So they got rid of the maestros of the thriller title and replaced it with Lucio Fulci Presents.
Right.
So all the films became Lucio Fulci Presents The Murder Secret, or even weirder, Lucio Fulci Presents Touch of Death, directed by Lucio Fulci.
Fucking
It's very
hell, wow.
confusing.
I guess he is the selling point. You
Yeah.
know, he is the big name among them.
But that didn't fucking work out either.
Wait, did they actually get released on VHS?
I think they briefly got released, but then they got sued by old mate Alfieri, the guy who was not the owner of Alpha, but the guy that was sort of setting up this project, because he actually owned the home video rights still. So I don't know how they thought they could release it. I can't tell you any more details on that. That's all I could find out. And because I guess part of that happening, like this suing sort of process, this formula company went bankrupt, and the films were just like lost, like floating about without distribution.
Interesting.
And I think eventually they were released, and in Japan they were definitely released because I actually own The Murder Secret on VHS,
Oh, really?
the Japanese release. Yeah. And then later on, I think, maybe even later in the 80s or in the 90s, another company did end up releasing them on VHS and DVD. Anyway, so that's these films.
That's a pretty
their production
interesting history.
But there's more.
Oh.
And it gets much crazier.
Okay.
So then there's this other company
Yeah.
called Executive. That's their name. Very, very brief and simple name, thank God. And they have the idea of using these, at this point, unreleased films to make a new film using all the gore sequences. So now can you guess where you've seen...
Cat in the Brain!
Yes, yeah.
Oh my god! Yes!
So Executive, they've got all these films, and they approach Fulci again, and they ask him to make 2 films. So one is Voices from Beyond, which I think is his last or second last film. That's a really great film. And the other is the very famous, probably his most famous, like latter-day film, A Cat in the Brain. I think in the UK it's maybe known as Nightmare Concert, or maybe other places it's known as that.
It is also known as Nightmare Concert, but yeah, no, in England it's Cat in the Brain.
Okay, yeah. And Cat in the Brain is a great title. It should be that title. It's awesome. So with A Cat in the Brain, they ask Fulci to come up with a way to integrate all the gore scenes from these 8 fucking shitty television movies into a new film.
Right.
So they sort of give him that goal. And he comes up with this story, this script where the idea is a director is being haunted by the films he's making. And yeah, he's... basically he talks about it in interviews, like he wanted to imagine what a horror director's nightmares are like, basically.
So he plays himself in that, doesn't he?
Well, that's the fucking crazy thing. So he finished the script writing it with that Simonelli guy who wrote those 8 films, all the Maestro films. And they kind of based it on this news article at the time that was accusing Fulci's films and Argento films of inspiring violence. So that's where that kind of idea came about. And also, I don't know if you know this, but Fulci hated psychologists.
Oh, really?
He fucking hated them.
Because doesn't he play a psychologist?
No, the psychologist is the villain of that film.
That's right,
Who's
yeah.
kind of tricking him, hypnotizing Fulci and kind
I
of
remember
making
there
him
was
think
that patient psychologist.
So that's the kind of inspiration for him writing this script. But anyway, he finished the script, and at that point he was not going to play the lead. It was just a director. But he wasn't really happy with the end result. So in 1990, he's got this script, and he brings it to another writer, Antonio Tentori, who is the writer of Demonia, you know that film, another later day Fulci film, and he asks him to touch up the script. And Tentori is the guy who comes up with the idea, absolutely fucking crazy and amazing idea of Fulci playing himself in the film, which I think is just amazing. That's what makes that film incredible. Yeah, Fulci always has cameos in his films, but this is his first leading role and as himself. That's fucking crazy, right? This is 1990 they made this film.
Pretty meta, if you come to think about it.
Time. In preparation for this, I was watching a lot of Fulci interviews, and he's describing the film as being Eraserhead made by an old man. which is a great description. And yeah, it does feel like it's very meta, super ahead of its time. And he also kind of disses Wes Craven quite a lot.
Oh, really?
You know Wes Craven's New Nightmare?
Yeah.
Where he's like playing himself.
Yeah.
There's interviews with Fulci being, I think someone asked him like, why did you make this film? He's like, oh, so Craven would have something to steal. Like, basically. Pretty great.
That's one I really want to revisit, actually, because I've not seen it for at least 15, 17 years or something.
I rewatched it for this episode, and it is fucking great.
Yeah?
It is so good. I never liked it that much when I watched it when I was younger, but watching it again, I was really struck by how completely crazy it is, and it's really amazing and super, super weird. Yeah, so anyway, that film actually didn't really do that well in Italy, but I think since then it's become quite a cult classic and pretty well loved.
I mean, it
amongst
seems
his
like
films.
it's such an insane concept that I'm not surprised it didn't do well.
Yeah, it's pretty specific,
Yeah.
isn't it? So anyway, all of the footage from these 8 films he had to integrate into the film. So that was obviously a pretty difficult task. But I think the awkwardness of it kind of adds to the weirdness of that film. It kind of makes it more interesting. It's just so strange the way it's put in. So all of these, all of those films got kind of repurposed and redubbed. So including Touch of Death, which we mentioned. Actually, a really funny thing about Touch of Death. So the main actor from Touch of Death, Brett Halsey, he didn't know about A Cat in the Brain.
Right.
And them using footage of him from this other film. And he was like pretty good mates with Fulci. And he said it ruins their friendship.
Serious?
Because he would call up Fulci and Fulci wouldn't answer. Because I think he was scared about him finding out about A Cat in the Brain. Because he wasn't getting paid for it.
Right.
And yeah, Halsey is like, I don't mind that much. Like, he could have just given me a few bucks and we could have just gone on. But like, he just ignored my calls after that out of fear. But yeah, he had no clue that it had been used. And people would come up and say like, yeah, you made 4 films with Fulci. He's like, no, I made 3. What are you talking about?
And then he blocked me.
So yeah, that Touch of Death footage is the most fucked up stuff in the film. That's the most violent sort of stuff. But the second most violent footage in Cat in the Brain is definitely from today's film.
Right.
The Murder Secret. Which is a film that I would say is kind of equally as nightmarish and dreamlike as A Cat in the Brain, but a very, very, very different kind of film as well.
Such an odd film. It's so
fucking
odd.
Weird. It is so strange. But in A Cat in the Brain, he reuses the effects from Murder Secret twice. So I think he was a fan of those effects.
Right.
But yeah, so that's the history.
That's
that was quite a long history.
It's very fascinating, though. And also, we're really glad to hear that they redubbed it, because the dubbing in this, I'll say the ADR in this was fucking atrocious.
We'll definitely get into that
Oh
soon.
my goodness, yeah.
Wow. Anyway, let's get into the film. So, the first thing we see, Lucio Fulci presents. Pretty great way to start the film.
Oh, yeah.
The music in the opening titles.
Banging music.
So good.
That was my first note. I just wrote banging music.
I've got some pretty funny facts about this guy as well.
Let's hear
the
him.
music.
Yeah.
So his name is Gianni Esposito.
Okay.
But he's also on IMDb, he's Gianni Sposito. They dropped the E on there. I don't know which one's correct, but I was looking at what else he's done music for, because I'm like, man, this music's awesome. It's so great. And he's mostly done music for these cheap Italian Disney rip-off films, including films with the titles Simba the King Lion, Pocahontas, Princess of the American Indians,
Oh, wow.
and Simba Jr. and the Football World Cup.
No way. Oh, I need to see that.
I don't think we do.
Oh, come on. It's going to be great. You love a rip-off movie.
But anyway, so that music is awesome, but I don't know how well his career has gone after this.
Well,
if that's
after
what he's-
Simba and the World Cup. Yeah, I don't think it went too well.
Oh, man. Yeah, and also in these opening credits, we get a few important people left off. So someone we don't see Camilla Fulci. So that's Fulci's daughter, who was the script supervisor for this and helped Fulci with all his later day films. Do you know much about her?
I don't know probably anything.
She is I just watched the documentary Fulci for Fake, and she's in that, and
that's quite recent, isn't it?
Yeah, 2019 or so, and she is just such a delightful person. And tragically, I think she died quite recently.
Oh, really?
She sounds like she had a really rough life. She was paralyzed from a horse riding incident. Managed to walk again, but then had illnesses and was ended her life in a wheelchair. But Fulci considered kind of her the real auteur behind A Cat in the Brain. She helped so much on the production. He saw it as her film, which is quite nice as well. Adds a sort of extra touch to that. The other person who's not credited is Pino Ferrante, who did the effects, but we'll maybe talk about him a bit later.
All right.
Oh god, the hardest thing I think to talk about is this opening scene.
You know what? I was so confused.
What do you think happened in the opening scene?
Well, I mean, just explaining what I saw, first of all, we start with a woman. She kind of wakes up somewhere.
Yeah.
Which we don't really know where at first. Yeah. And she's kind of distressed, worried, looking around. It seems that she's kind of locked in a white room and she can't get out. So at first I was like, is she a prisoner in here? Has she been like held captive against her will or something? And then we kind of keep cutting back and forth between a car driving, right?
Yeah, so we're basically getting present day and then flashbacks.
And that's it.
Yeah, but it's very confusing. So as you said, we've got who we find out later is Aunt Martha in this weird white room. And she's played by Sacha Darwin, who's from Touch of Death. So she's a Fulci actor. I watched an interview with her where she described Fulci as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde because of his extreme mood swings, which I thought was
heavy, pleasant to talk with. Yeah.
He sounds like quite a full-on man. And we're seeing stuff of her in this kind of white room. And we're also seeing this family. Yeah. So in the family, we've got Richard, the dad, played by Gabriel Tinti. And I was rereading my old review of The Murder Secret, and there was a really funny quote that my friend, when I watched this with my friend, he described this actor as looking like a horrible mashup of Al Pacino and Eric Roberts. Do you reckon that's
a pretty accurate description? Yeah.
So he's the dad, and we've got Nora, the mother, played by Adriana Russo, the daughter, Georgia, who's like a teenage daughter, almost basically an adult. Jessica Moore plays that role. And then a very fucking annoying son called Maurice.
Oh, Maurice, that fucking
played by
kid, yeah.
Edoardo Massimi, who is one of the worst child actors I've ever seen.
And it also sounds like his voice was dubbed by a completely different person.
By a woman, like clearly. Right? Like it's an adult woman dubbing the voice, which is such a classic Italian trope, isn't it? Like in House by the Cemetery. Do you remember the kid dubbed by the woman?
I'd have to watch it again.
I remember when I saw that as a kid, it distracted me so much seeing a kid dubbed by a woman. But I've seen so many Italian horror films, I'm just used to it now.
But that opening was so confusing because we're jumping back and forth, present day and flashbacks, and we get the same characters appearing as well. Like you get Richard the dad, but also kind of appearing when he was a kid.
Yeah, so basically we eventually see that this room that in these flashbacks that Aunt Martha is in is a mental asylum. So these orderlies come and they take her away, and her head's bandaged up, like she's maybe had a lobotomy.
Well, I don't know. There was kind of like a blood stain on the wall behind her.
She was like banging
so
her head.
I took it as she was like smashing her head against the wall.
That makes sense. Yeah. So she's on this bed, and there's as you said, we see the young version of this Richard character. The way the film tells us that it's him is quite funny. Do you remember how they show us?
Oh, no, I was too confused.
So we see Aunt Martha lying on this bed with a bandaged up head. And then the camera pans across to this fucking terrible actor playing the doctor, who's like, yeah, there's no chance for a full recovery. And then we see this sort of dolled up older lady who we find out is Richard's mum.
Yeah.
And then we go over to Richard as a kid, and they're all they're all staring at, Aunt Martha. But as we're on the kid, it does like this sort of flash edit of Richard, the adult actor, the Eric Roberts looking guy. It's like, yeah. And you're like, yeah, that's Richard, by the way.
It's so confusing. It was really hard to follow initially.
Yeah, it's extremely confusing. Even watching this the second time, I had to kind of, it took a while to process everything. Yeah, so
there's no like differentiation between like present day and past. Like we don't know anything. I initially thought they were driving to see Martha in the hospital, which it probably is like how it's set up. It's probably just trying to trick us as the viewer.
Or not.
Or it's just shittily done.
Yeah, I think it's just shittily done. So it's kind of going between this stuff of Martha and this conversation Richard's having about Martha. And he says that she's been living in South America for 30 years and now she's come back. So that's the sort of setup. And also there's this kind of, he's very awkward talking about her.
Yeah.
And says stuff like, Martha's name was always taboo. And it's kind of, it's quite confusing. It's hard to know what's bad acting and is the film trying to tell us like something deeper is going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, very confusing.
Is that when we cut to the flashback again when he's with his mum?
Yes.
I gotta say, his mum looks like a fucking mannequin. Oh my god, I've never seen such a plastic face in my life.
Quite intense.
I wonder, was she like, I didn't look her up, but she could have been like a veteran actress who had like kind of had way too much work done on her face.
The actress's name is Ana Maria Placido, but I don't know her. I haven't seen her in anything else.
Yeah, she couldn't squeeze out a tear if it was real life. Jesus.
But yeah, so we see back in the past again, and this was the most confusing part of the film, I think, because it's sort of hiding things from us, right? But she's telling the child version of Richard, this flashback, that she's going to tell him a terrible story about Aunt Martha, and that one day he's going to need to do something. And that something is remember the letter to the doctor. So that's the information we're given. He has to... We don't hear the details of this story, but we know that he was supposed to send some kind of letter to a doctor. Right. That's all the information we're given. Very confusing. And it's kind of constantly being interrupted by the fucking present day stuff in the car, which is infuriating as well. And... yeah, then it's even... there's a bit where it's interrupted by the annoying son.
Oh, Maurice. Yeah. Is that when he says, shut up, you little brat?
Yeah.
I'm Aunt Martha. Ooh.
Shut up, you little brat.
Richard, what's happening? Are you crazy?
Oh, Christ. I'm sorry, Maurice. I really am.
And anyway, we're back to the flashback again. And so after the mother has said this stuff about writing the letter and, all this stuff about Aunt Martha that we haven't heard, he leaves the room and instantly there's a scream and he runs back into the room. And what does he see?
She's done the Marilyn Burns.
Yeah.
She's done the fucking Marilyn Burns out the window.
She's jumped out the window. But unlike Marilyn Burns, she hasn't survived this one. So, yeah, she's committed suicide.
Yeah.
So that's... very baffling. This is all in this opening little piece and it's so confusing. We're also at the same time, like we cut back again to the present day and we're hearing a voiceover of a letter that Martha's sent where she's like, they're finally letting me go. And yeah, Richard, you're the only relative that I have. So like, oh, okay. Very confusing.
Yeah.
Then one more important thing happens in the car. So Richard's distracted by his daughter Georgia, who hugs him.
Oh, yeah, this was odd. Yeah.
And he nearly crashes into a truck. So she hugs onto him. He nearly crashes, but they're all right. Apparently.
Yeah. Her mum says something weird.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you remember that.
Because the daughter kind of like hugs the dad and she's like, oh, I love you, daddy. And the mum is like, hey there. It's a good thing I'm not the jealous type. Yeah. It's like you're talking to your daughter and her dad.
I love you, Daddy.
Hey there. It's a good thing I'm not the jealous type, huh?
Did you get the feeling the whole way through this? I was like, even though I've seen it before, I'm like, does this get incesty? That's what I was thinking the whole time watching it. The film also rips off Psycho quite a lot, which is another kind of weird, family relationship kind of movie. So it does have some weird vibes going on.
Weird some weird sexual undertones.
Yeah.
Not even overtones, like with the daughter. Jesus
Oh my God,
Christ.
some stuff that happens later is quite atrocious.
Yeah.
So just to sum up the information in that first act, so Richard and his stupid family are driving to see Aunt Martha at her house. We also had some flashbacks where we know that she was in a mental asylum, and we know that Richard maybe didn't do something that he was supposed to do.
That's right.
That's all we know from that first.
I mean, when you say it like that, it sounds really simple, but watching it
not
on
all simple.
screen, it's so confusing. And at this point, my note was, I am not loving this movie. It was not an enjoyable opening.
It's a incredibly confusing opening with a lot of information. But you know what? It's all right, because the next 70 minutes is going to give us no information.
Nothing happens until like the 50-minute mark in this movie.
I will say about this film, I don't think I've ever seen a film with so much filler. Almost every scene is pointless.
Oh, it's excruciating.
This film could be a 5-minute film. But I also kind of love that about it as well.
So now all your listeners are going to listen to us talk about a film and nothing happens for the next 45 minutes.
A lot of funny things happen though, so there's plenty to talk about. So they arrive at the house and we meet a very special guy.
That's it. They're greeted by the gardener.
Thomas.
Thomas
is his name.
Nice
Played
gardener.
by
Good guy.
Maurice Polly.
Right.
Very, very nice guy. Very gentle. He doesn't actually introduce himself in this first minute. He's like, yeah, I'm a gardener.
He's the gardener.
How you doing?
But he says, like, Martha won't be here until tomorrow. But he's, like, happy enough to show them around, shows them the ups and the downs, and then Richard is like, hey, what about this door? And he finds the door that goes down to the cellar, and he's like, oh, no, that's locked. You can't go in there. It's locked. Doesn't work, mate.
So, yeah.
And then we get the sinister music.
Yeah, we know it's like the film may as well just be like, hey everybody, yeah, like it's down there. The bad stuff's down there in the basement.
Basically.
I love this. His tour is so fucking funny.
Yeah.
It's just this dorky man walking from room to room giving a tour. My favorite line is when he comes into the kitchen and he says, "This is the kitchen. You'll find everything you might ever need."
This is the kitchen. You'll find everything you might ever need in here.
Everything you might ever need in your life? My other thing that he says that I love is like after the basement thing, he's like, yeah, don't go down there. Yeah, it's the stairs are all fucked up. Oh, by the way, my name is Thomas. Like, dude, you've done this whole tour.
Yeah.
That is not how meeting someone works.
Yeah.
When you meet someone, you say your fucking name first, dude.
Oh, by the way, my name is Thomas. If you need anything, I'm always to be found in my cottage.
Oh, God.
But then,
Right.
and they have like the dinner scene after that, and they'll kind of eat and swiftly go to bed. But Richard is very curious about that door, isn't he? Like he knows something's down there.
He's very, very curious about that. I also love they have dinner and instantly the second they finish dinner, the kid's like, right, time for bed.
Yeah.
Imagine like you finish dinner and you like run up to bed straight away.
It's kind of like they wanted to pay a lot of attention to the door in the script, and they needed like a filler scene
Yeah.
to sandwich from when he first saw the door to then it kind of playing on his mind. So let's just fucking write a very quick dinner scene in here, and then we'll eat and then be like, right, let's go to bed, and then he's going to look at the door again, and then we'll get the sinister music once again.
Yeah. Also, in this like first night in the house, the phone is ringing all the time, and every time Richard answers, no one is speaking on the other end. We also hear that Richard's adult son, Charles, will be joining later. Charles could be the most extraneous character in cinema history. There is absolutely no fucking point at all for him to be in this film other than to pad the time of this film.
And die, of course.
Yeah, and die. Oh, what did you think of the scene of Richard and Nora in bed together? That was quite an upsetting scene.
Is that when she kind of just like walks over to the bed and starts stripping down?
She comes into the bed and she's just like, geez, I don't even know if Aunt Martha exists.
Yeah.
And he's instantly distracted and starts grabbing her boobs. He's like just grabbing her boobs and just
shut up and give me that titty.
he's like saying so many odd things to her. He's like, you do know that you're beautiful. I want some.
Well, you do know that you're beautiful. I want some.
In that case, we'll have to ask Aunt Martha if she'll invite us out every weekend. If that's the effect it has.
All of the dialogue is so fucking tripped out and insane.
Yep.
Do you think that the people dubbing it, do you think they had so we watched an English dub of it. Do you think they had a script, or were they just making it up as they went?
Honestly, mate, I couldn't tell you.
It's very Mad Foxes-esque. Right?
It was. So is this originally in Italian, this film? Right.
Yeah.
I thought as much, but still, the dubbing was so atrocious and kind of all out of time, but it was just so stiff. Everyone's dub was so stiff that I couldn't tell if it was just terribly dubbed by actors who weren't the actual actors. In the case with the kid.
Well, like all...
Or different language.
That is the style of Italian films, right? So, but usually what Italian films do is they get... the lead actor will be an American or British actor.
Right.
So say like in The Beyond, David Warbeck's the lead and Katrina McCall. They're both British, right? So they dub their own voices, and then everyone else is Italian.
Right.
And has that kind of weird, dubbed voices. But in this, I'm pretty sure everybody's Italian.
Right.
And they didn't put much effort into the
They
dub at all.
really didn't.
All right, so...
And then this scene just fucking blew my mind.
This is one of my favorite things in the film.
Right.
Do you want to tell us about it?
So it's nighttime, right? And a man with a fucking massive rifle is approaching the house and lets himself in.
Yeah.
And very sinister music.
He's like pointing it everywhere, like he's gonna kill someone, right?
And Richard and Nora wake up, and Richard's like, "Wake up! There's someone in the house." And they kind of just like lay in bed and they don't fucking move. And the man with the rifle comes into their bedroom with a fucking gun in his hand. And they're just fucking sitting there. And he's watching the door. He's literally watching the door as it opens and a barrel of a gun comes in. And they turn on the light. And he's like, "Oh, it's Charles."
It's bloody Charles, the adult son.
And at that point, I was like, "Who the fuck is Charles?"
Oh man, it's so mental. And it's like 3 a.m. as well. They make a point of saying what time it is. There's so many things that make no sense. The reactions, for one. And also, why the fuck is Charles walking around at 3 a.m. holding a gun? Yeah. We find out a little bit more later, but like, why? Why would he do this?
It makes no sense, but he says like the next morning that he does hunting and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like shooting quail or something.
But at this point, there's no context.
But why are you
right?
fucking walking through the house at 3 a.m. with a rifle?
Yeah,
going into your dad's room.
It's so weird, and all of the like character interactions here, so off, like so fucking weird. It's like when you talk to someone in a dream, it feels like that. So the mother is like just saying stuff like, I'm not Charles's mom. He takes after his wild mother. Oh, I'm sorry, Charles, about saying your mother was wild. Just like this weird fucking bonkers interaction. And it feels super tense between Richard and Charles. Like there's some kind of, like something else going on between them. But I don't think that was deliberate. I don't think
they thought that deep into this.
I think it's more of a problem with the acting and the dubbing and the lines. Like, I think all that surreal energy that's created is not deliberate in a lot of the scenes.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, as you said, the next morning we do find out that he's going to be hunting. And I'm sure this would have been maybe your most hated scene, but this is probably my favorite scene.
I honestly don't.
You probably don't remember.
All I remember, he bumps into the caretaker, the gardener,
but
right?
I'm talking about before this.
Oh.
So I don't think I've ever seen a more pointless scene. To the point that when I was writing my notes for this, I wanted to edit like scenes out, like as I was writing up my notes. So the next morning, right, Nora is setting the table for breakfast for ages. It goes for quite a long time. And I'm like, fucking, do we really fucking need to see this shit? And then everyone comes in one by one. And they're like, hi, good morning, hi. One by one coming in, hi, hello, hey, good morning. And they're just eating breakfast. Like, you could have just cut to them eating breakfast straight away. What are you doing? And then Charles comes in and he's like, hey, yeah, I'm going to go hunting. Yeah. And there's all this like crazy dialogue. Maurice says, I could eat a bear this morning.
Here we are.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Mom and Dad.
Hi, darling.
I could eat a bear this morning.
Which is not something that anyone has ever fucking said in the history of the world. And then Charles is like,
history of the world,
except in this film. And then Charles is like, yeah, I'm gonna go hunting. I'd like to have a look-see in those woods.
I think
Look-see.
I'd like to have a look-see in the woods down the road. They should be full of game around this season.
I think, like you said, everything in this film is so pointless. Everything is filler that I literally have nothing to note about. I was watching it, I was like, all right, they're eating breakfast. I'm not going to fucking sit and talk about a family eating breakfast. So I didn't note so many things.
I was
down.
latching onto the insane dialogue in that. I'd like to have a look-see in the woods. Imagine saying
That's an interest. I wonder how that translated over from Italian.
Oh, God. Like, you could just say, I'd like to have a look in the woods.
Yeah.
Just anything other than look-see. But that's where we finally get the context that he's going hunting, right?
Which explains the rifle, yeah.
Right, all right, so now the scene before makes slightly more sense. But yeah, he stomps outside with his gun. And yeah, as you said, he runs into Thomas, the caretaker. This is also another one of my favorite things. So he runs into Thomas, and Thomas is like, oh, yeah, actually, Aunt Martha won't be here until tomorrow. So she's going to be even later. And then Thomas goes to where the family's having breakfast and says the exact same thing again. Yeah, so Aunt Martha won't be here till tomorrow. It's like, fuck, we only needed one of these scenes.
But I actually found that scene quite interesting because it kind of goes back to what Nora, the wife, was saying, because she was doubting that Martha actually exists. And I was like, maybe she doesn't exist. Yeah, I know that scene did actually have some purpose.
Just that it's twice. Like, we didn't need both of them.
No, we didn't need both.
need it delivered twice. Also, that scene has two very funny lines as well, where Thomas says, anyhow, she says she's impatient to give you all a big kiss. And then when he heads off, he's like, I got a heck of a lot of chores to do. It's just like, no one talks like this.
It's very like sitcom-y, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, actually, imagine watching this with a laugh track.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty interesting, actually.
Gonna take a look in these woods.
Yeah.
Or a look-see in these woods.
Everyone's cackling. Yeah.
I'd like to have a look-see in the woods down the road.
And because it has that sort of soap opera style.
Yeah.
It feels so TV, right? Yeah,
100%.
absolutely. So at this point, like, fucking nothing has happened.
No.
Now this is the second night that they're there, and really we've learnt very little other than Aunt Martha may or may not exist.
Yeah, I was not happy watching this.
But surely you would have liked the next scene though. A scene for the boys.
Georgia, the daughter, getting naked.
Such a sleazy,
It is
gratuitous scene.
So grim. It's like, all right, so you're gonna get naked, and you're gonna.
Grim is the best way to describe it.
Isn't she's like changing her clothes?
Yeah,
but it's like she's like looking at herself in the mirror, getting naked in the night, trying on various things, and it goes on for a very, very long time.
It's so gratuitous. Yeah. And as she's getting dressed the whole time, she's like,
because that's dubbed as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a thing of like Italian films. They have to put all those like sounds in that don't actually happen when you're getting dressed. Do you do that when you get dressed in the morning?
I do. No, I do. I go, oh, my back.
So fucking stupid.
And then you get the voice. Georgia. And I'm like, ooh, things are getting a bit spooky.
Here we go.
And I thought, this is when it starts. You got the freaky voice, someone calling her from beyond the grave or somewhere.
Georgia!
And it opens the door and it turns out it's her little fucking douche brother, Maurice.
But you know what? That kid should really, seek a career in voice acting. Because pretty good voice.
For a grown woman, yeah. But he's like, this place is spooky, so let me come stay with you.
He also calls his sister a darn fraidy cat.
Oh, come on, big sister. I guess you're always going to be such a darn fraidy cat.
What do you want, Maury? Apart from all the silly jokes.
Yeah, as you say, he's actually the fucking fraidy cat. Because he wants to not sleep by himself and sleep in the room with his sister. So that happens.
35 minutes in. Nothing's happened yet.
Yeah, Richard and Nora in the other room, they're trying to sleep. We hear a door banging.
Ooh.
And,
spooky.
Yeah, very,
fucking
very
hell.
spooky. Richard very slowly investigates this.
Oh, God.
Slowly walking outside to see the door that's banging, and he closes it and very slowly walks back up. But then what happens?
Oh, Charles, he's been fucking murdered. He drops down from somewhere, like, covered in blood, all bloodied up.
Like Jason Voorhees style, right?
Yeah.
Like he's been hung up to something that
we don't see. He kind of drops in from the top of the screen.
It's a pretty fucked up shot. Like, he's just like, upside down, and it's really close on his face, and blood is just like bucketing out of his mouth.
Yeah. It was great. I thought, oh, finally something's happened. But who's killed old Charles?
Who's done it? We don't know. Richard hasn't seen it. He just goes back to bed.
He's a bit shit, isn't he, Richard?
He's like,
so fucking dumb.
Just to close the door now, back to bed. Didn't see his dead son. Yeah, and we also see another very pointless scene. Yeah, Maurice wakes up.
Oh my God, this scene was fucking ridiculous. So hang on. Maurice, that little dick, he was the one who's like, oh, I want to come sleep with you, Georgia, because this house is spooky. Yet, he wakes up in the middle of the night and decides to go for a walk. He's like...
Dumb smile on his face the whole time.
What's that about? So he wakes up, goes for a walk, goes past the door that leads to the basement, dun dun dun, which kind of ever so slightly opens. However, he walks to the TV, which is all static, and like starts kind of waving his fingers at it.
Yeah,
it's like
it's
fucking...
a weird shot.
It's like Poltergeist. It's pure fucking Poltergeist. So I was like, is this gonna turn supernatural now? Like, what's happening here? But this is all completely pointless. Why is he walking in front of the TV? Why is the TV static? Why is he communicating with it? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
I know, it
doesn't make any sense.
Totally ridiculous.
And at this point, nothing's happened.
Yeah. It's the next morning. Richard wakes up. He's like, oh, where's Maury? Oh, he's asleep in front of the TV.
Yeah.
That's the end result of that.
But he says the best line. This is my favourite line.
I don't have anything written down.
Oh my God.
What does he say?
So Richard follows Maurice sleeping on the floor in front of the TV like an idiot. And he's like, what are you doing, kid? And Maurice is like, I found the TV on and then fell asleep in front of it. And Richard goes, ha, what a nut.
I do remember that.
I found the TV on last night. I fell asleep in front of it.
What a nut.
Oh, man. Yeah, Georgia also wakes up to something quite shocking. So on her mirror, there is kind of some, like, I guess written with, looks like lipstick or something. Yeah. And it says June 16th, 1958. But her reaction is very underwhelming. She's like, oh, pretty spooky. And she comes downstairs for breakfast and very nonchalantly just goes, hey, Dad, what's important about the date June 16th, 1958? Just kind of uninterested. Yeah. Not like, if that was me, I'd be like, who the fuck wrote this on my mirror?
Yeah, right.
That's scary as shit. But she doesn't react at all. And the dad just looks uncomfortable and doesn't answer.
Yeah.
And then instantly everyone's like, where's Aunt Martha? Again.
Right, yeah. Where's Martha?
Oh my God.
And we never really came to anything, did it?
Sort of. You mean the date itself?
And the writing as well, because the writing also gets kind of like half smudged off later. But again, we don't ever know who wrote or smudged it. I mean, we can kind of assume, but
we can assume, but yeah.
But that, in the end, was all for nothing.
Actually, talking about that smeared writing, this is probably my second favorite bit of absolutely shit filler, where we cut to, what's her name, Nora. She's like blasting the horn of the car, telling Richard to hurry up because she wants to go shopping. And we get this ridiculous scene that quite genuinely almost, it's so funny that it almost feels deliberate, where he's like painstakingly getting ready. So she's like, hurry up, Richard. And it just has him slowly walking around the room, like packing things away. Just goes for so long. And I feel like if you ever wanted to sum up a movie in one scene, just this scene is this film. Just someone walking around doing nothing. But anyway, he ends up, the scene ends with him seeing the mirror with the date sort of smeared off. And he's like, oh, all right.
Yeah, like, not going to fucking question that. Someone's written the date which only he knows about, because at first he was like, how did you know about that date? And then brushes it off. So he knows what's happened. But he thinks that he's the only one who knows, right? But clearly someone else knows. And someone has written that on his daughter's mirror.
And he doesn't care.
And he's like, oh, where's Martha? Where's Martha? And then he's like, fuck it, we've got to go shopping. Meanwhile, Maurice is cycling around the living room on his bicycle like a goddamn maniac.
And I gotta say, this is a weird experience watching this scene. I started to like trip balls a little bit watching this scene. And I remember feeling the same way the first time I watched it, because this is the first time we start to see footage that is reused in A Cat in the Brain.
Yeah.
But the way that it's used in A Cat in the Brain, it's like Fulci seeing the kid cycling around. He's sort of hallucinating the kid. So when I was watching this scene, it felt really weird watching it. It gave it like a weird edge that wouldn't exist without A Cat in the Brain existing. But it felt very off-putting and more dreamlike. Just Maurice cycling around. Where'd you get that little bike from?
He said that it was Richard's when he was young. So I don't know, he probably
Dug
pulled
it out
it from the attic. I don't know.
What a dickhead.
What a nut.
What a nut.
I also love, like, Nora and Richard. So she's going shopping, and they just, like, stop in the middle of nowhere. It's like in the middle of the countryside. And Richard gets out. He's like, yeah, I'm going to go talk to Thomas and see what's going on. And she's like, all right. And he just leaves. He's like in the middle of a fucking field.
This
so funny.
This is where it finally fucking starts. And it picks up. And I gotta say, though, the music here is amazing. They have this one track that just loops relentlessly throughout this entire sequence. And it's amazing. From this point on, this is where the film, as you say, it kicks in at this point. It finally wakes up. We've probably done about 40-50 minutes of filler.
Even more perhaps, because this is getting kind of towards the end of the film.
Right.
Really, but things go fucking bonkers at this point. So Richard's waltzed off into a field somewhere to find Thomas. And what happens to Georgia?
So she's naked again.
That's so sleazy.
Yeah.
It's even worse, this scene. So she's like stripping off, and she does it in the scene before as well, but she's like looking in the mirror at her own body and being like, hell yeah, I like what I see.
She's got the weird grunts. Like,
looks pretty good. Bit of body positivity there.
Yeah.
And then this shot of her in the shower is so fucked.
It's so long and sleazy.
Like,
I say gratuitous.
She gets into the shower, doesn't close the curtain, for one, just purely for the camera.
You can't get a camera in there, can you?
And like the camera like zooms in on a like head and then slowly fucking pans down her body, like so fucking slowly. And then basically like once it's finished doing that pan down, then she's like, oh, now I can close the shower curtain.
Yeah, right. It's so slow.
Oh god. And all the while that kind of bonkers music is playing.
It's a very long shower scene. But then we get the voice again, the Georgia voice. And then I was like, no, they can't be doing this and literally remake the classic Psycho scene.
Oh, yeah.
So she's in the shower. You have the shadow of someone approaching from the outside holding something in their hand. And I was like, no. He cannot have the balls to try and remake Psycho from this piece of shit movie. And it turns out it's little fucking Dick Maurice.
Which is quite creepy as well, having a kid. Because, like, the shot has the kid looking at, his naked sister.
Yeah.
But what the fuck?
And he's got a lizard.
Yeah, he's got like a dead lizard or a toy lizard in his hand.
Yeah. So we think like he's got a knife, as like classic Psycho move. We think it's a silhouette and the killer's got a knife. And he opens the shower curtain and he's holding the dead lizard. And
it just runs away.
Georgia gets, she screams, get the fuck out of here with that shit. And he's, you're such a scaredy cat. He's all right. And he kind of runs off and he runs to bury it in the garden.
Is this
fucking falls over on the way.
Oh my god. Dude, so that shot. So yeah, he's running away. It's like this wide shot. And it's like the shot goes too long. He like falls over and it's clearly real.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think that shot inspired me when I made Cat Sick Blues, because there's a scene in Cat Sick Blues where the main character's running and falls over, and I'd watched this just around that time, and I remember at the time thinking it was so fucking funny that they left that in the film.
Right.
And I think I stole it.
Oh, amazing. I thought that was so fun. He kind of
dude.
slips, stacks it, and then stands up and keeps on running.
I rewound it.
Why
quite
didn't
a few
they
times.
retake that?
It's so good.
It's fine, kid. We'll fix it in post. You just keep doing it.
Oh man, they didn't even need. They could have just cut a few frames earlier.
I
as
know.
well. Oh, so great.
It's perfect.
Oh man, yeah, that is my favorite thing in the whole film.
And
so then back to the shower.
Oh yeah.
And you get your wish, right?
And then they actually do the Psycho thing. So the voice comes back again, Georgia. She obviously thinks it's the kid once again. However, this time it's actually the killer, whoever that may be, with a knife. And we get one of the most brutal stabbings. It's so fucking relentless.
Yeah, it's
and
really
it's so bloody.
It's full on. It's like... Yeah, so it is Psycho, but it's like dumb Italian gratuitous Psycho.
Yeah.
It's so fucked.
And the whole time we still have that ridiculous happy music playing over the top of it.
There's that shot of her face getting stabbed. It's really intense. It's a really, really horrific death. But it's not the worst thing in this film. And do you remember how last time I said I didn't remember this film at all, but I remembered one thing about this film, which is why I chose it to watch for this podcast.
Yeah.
This is the reason
as
why.
soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, this is the one Dave was talking about. 100%.
So George has been brutally stabbed to bits. And then what happens after that?
So the kid comes back and he's like, oh, it's okay, Georgia, I buried the fucking reptile in the yard. And he goes to the shower, pulls back the shower curtain, and the body's gone, and the shower is clean. There's literally no trace of blood whatsoever. So he kind of goes looking for Georgia, and we cut to a chainsaw revving. We kind of get this cutting back and forth between the two shots of him just kind of like walking around the house looking for Georgia. And he walks through a doorway and gets his fucking head cut off with a chainsaw.
Chainsawed off.
He's how old, would you say?
Like 7?
So he's a young kid.
Yeah.
He's a nut.
What a nut.
And literally, it's just this chainsaw comes out of nowhere. It's literally so out of the blue.
Yeah.
And just decapitates this little kid.
His head flops down onto the ground.
It's so close up, this shot.
It's really, really graphic. And insane that they thought that this could be on television. A little kid having his head chainsawed off.
When I saw this, I literally, out loud, I was like, oh my god! Because I had kind of zoned out quite a lot with the nothingness that happens in this movie. That when this did happen, I literally shouted out, oh my god.
So maybe this is a good point to talk about the guy who did the effects. So the effects guy in this is Pino Ferrante.
Right.
I think on IMDb he's Giuseppe Ferrante. I don't know why the two different names, but yeah, he did the effects for this and also all of like Fulci's, you know, final films as well. And you know, he is not a household name in the way that like De Rossi is, right? So like Fulci's guy from his prime, everyone knows him, and you know, he went on to do like a lot of very big films. But I really fucking love Ferrante's effects because they're so grim. There's something they're like a bit cheap, but
They're pretty cheap.
they're very cheap, but they have a griminess that makes me feel a bit sick.
I totally understand what you mean.
But yeah, he's done so many Fulci films. He did Sodom is Ghost, Touch of Death, Voices from Beyond, House of Clocks, all of those later day ones. But he also worked on some pretty crazy stuff. So he did Lenzi's Cannibal Ferox.
Oh wow,
Is that how you pronounce it? Ferox? I don't know.
I always said Ferox, but I butcher everything. So.
And he did Nightmare City. He also did Bruno Mattei's Hell of the Living Dead, which I love, and Rats, Night of Terror, which I fucking love too. He did Lamberto Bava's Devilfish. He did Joe D'Amato's Absurd and Anthropophagus as well.
Oh wow,
probably pronouncing that wrong too. And he even worked on so he was working way back in the day. He even did some effects on Argento's film Cat O' Nine Tails, which is like
I've not seen that.
Quite an early like Argento film. But yeah, he's pretty prolific as well. But yeah, his effects, especially these like late 80s effects, just have a very icky feeling to them, which I fucking love. And this kid getting his head chopped off is the best example of his work, I think.
Oh yeah, it was pretty grim.
Yeah.
And yeah, as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, this is the reason we're watching this. Poor little Maurice, the nut getting his head chainsawed off. It's pretty fucked up, yeah.
What a nut.
Pretty wrong.
It's so fast. Like,
very
I kind of like wish that we hadn't have seen the chainsaw revving up beforehand, because with that you kind of got a glimpse of you know what was going to come. You kind of could see it coming. But even with that chainsaw revving scene, it was so out of nowhere.
It's quite shocking.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So Nora comes back home and looking for her kids.
Yeah, we're like, what the fuck?
She's like, hey kids, what's happening?
Yeah.
They're not there. They're all dead, mate. Sorry. Yeah, she walks downstairs.
Yeah.
And there's blood all over the wall, but she doesn't notice it.
I know.
What an idiot. Anyway, then we see Richard, who's finally, you know, found where he thinks Thomas lives. And it's like a house under construction, right?
Yeah.
And he's asking about Thomas. And they're like, oh, there's no Thomas. And there's no caretaker for that house. That place is empty. There's no Thomas in these parts.
Yeah.
And then he asks to use the phone in the house that's under construction, and heads in, and he calls the clinic, the mental asylum that Martha was at. And again, it's like another kind of like, what the fuck? What were you thinking when you wrote this script? It's so pointless, all the pacing in this, where they're like, yeah, hang on, can you call back in 5 minutes? We'll check. He's like, oh, okay. It's like, what? Why do we need that scene? Yeah. Fucking hell. Anyway. And then we get... Is it the craziest thing I've fucking seen that I forgot all about?
Just the weird transition, the opening shot. Oh, it's fucking ridiculous. I was like, when I was watching, I was like, what am I seeing here?
Yeah.
It's so
I still don't
bizarre.
know. I still don't really know. How would you describe what we see? So he's hung up the phone, and then we cut very jarringly to...
It's like a fucking stuffed animal or something. It's like a
toy?
cat. I don't know what it is. Is it supposed to be a cat?
I don't
It's
know.
like this like bug-eyed, fluffy thing, and the establishing shot is just like right up in its face. It takes up the entire frame, and it's this fucking bug-eyed animal thing, and it kind of just slowly zooms out from that. It's like sitting on top of a pot of paint as well. So who thought this was a good idea?
Oh, my stomach's hurting.
Like, why would you open a shot with that?
But like, it's not only that, but it's got the music over the top. It's really intense. Like, it's supposed to be some big reveal. It's really... Oh, fuck, it's so fucking funny. Oh, there's no context at all. And it's totally meaningless.
It's completely meaningless.
Oh, God. Yeah, eventually the shot, after we see this weird toy, pans up, and we see that Nora, I guess, is in the attic.
Ah, that's right. Yeah,
not
yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
established, but she's looking through this chest. There's all these like creepy toys in there. But God, what a way to open a scene! Fuck it up, amazing. Anyway, so Nora finds this note in the chest that she's looking through, and it's about Martha. This is also one of the funniest things in the film. I don't know if you picked up on this, but yeah, like it has a different date. It's like June 18th.
Oh, right.
1958, but whatever. Anyway, so she's reading the note.
It's like...
as she's reading it, it's like being narrated out loud, but then we cut to the note. And did you read the note? Oh, fuck, it's so funny. So it's written in English,
right?
But it was clearly written by someone who couldn't speak or write English.
Oh, right.
And I go back and pause it on it because it is fucking hilarious. Like, absolute mess of spelling mistakes, the wrong words, like... And it's meant to be like this professional. Like,
it's like essentially her like hospital discharge letter or something, right?
So
or clinical report. That's it.
And it's quite different to what she's reading as well.
Right,
very funny. But yeah, so we basically hear in this letter that Martha, it's talking about her regaining her mental health, and she's getting better. And the doctor is requesting that the relatives come to collect her. Basically, it says that Martha is ready to be released. But before we hear any more, Nora is grabbed from behind.
Oh, yeah.
And what happens to her?
And gets her head stuffed into the trunk.
Yeah, it's like in the chest, the trunk thing.
Yeah. And whoever's doing it kind of slams it shut, decapitating her.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
Very sharp trunk.
You would need a lot of fucking power to be able to cut someone's head off with the lid of a trunk. Yeah. And her kind of bloody stump falls back onto the camera. Get that lovely, lovely decapitated stump shot.
A lovely decapitated stump shot. That's what it said in the script.
I love me
a stump.
This is going really, really off topic. But speaking of stumps, I just remembered. Have you ever seen that film Cradle of Fear?
Yeah, a long time ago.
The movie Cradle of Filth did. And there's a stump scene, and like this guy, he's like an amputee. And I can't remember the exact details, but there's a scene and there's this girl like licking his stump, his like leg stump, and he's like, "Oh yeah, lick me stump."
I don't remember that. It's been a long time since I've seen that. I thought you were going to say, have you seen Long Jean Silver?
Is that more stumpy goodness?
Do you know what that is? It's like a 70s porno, and it stars this actress who one of her legs is like a stump,
right?
But it sort of goes into like a skinny little stump.
Oh,
and there's a lot of stump sucking in that, and there's a scene where I shit you not. I almost don't want to tell you to do it for the pod, but no, we shouldn't do it for the pod. And she fucks a guy in the ass with her stump.
Oh my god!
And when I watched it, it was so bizarre and surreal that I couldn't even be repulsed by it. I was like, it was just too much for my brain to handle.
Is this a arm stump or a leg stump?
Sorry, leg stump. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's even worse then, isn't it?
Jamming it into this guy's butt.
Oh my god. Oh no. Not seeing that one, Dave.
We'll watch it after this.
You did one up on me with my Cradle of Fear. Jesus Christ.
God, from stump licking to stump fucking. What a tangent. And then we go
cut back to Richard now.
Back to Richard, yeah. And we again, he's like, calls back, right?
Oh, yeah, so he's been waiting
so
there.
Stupid. He's been waiting 5 minutes while his wife's had her head chopped off. What a fucking idiot. Oh, God. Whatever he hears, he's shocked. It's like, last March.
They said, like, she was discharged last March, wasn't it? Or last month? I didn't know it was last month or March. I don't know.
Yeah, last March, something like that. And he's like, blah, 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 blah. And then he's all shocked and he heads off. I say he's shocked. He's not that shocked. He's like, oh, all right.
He's a bit of a
That's
dick.
all of his reactions. Like, oh, yeah. Fair enough. But he wanders off into the woods.
This doesn't make any sense. So he rushes over to a graveyard.
Like, rushes. So how
He
did you
goes
know
to
that was there?
He goes to a graveyard. So why? We didn't even know there was a graveyard here. Let alone, why would he go to a graveyard now?
And it's in the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
Like, it's just this random set of tombs.
And he starts, like, dusting off the gravestones. And where he finds the graves for his family.
Including himself.
Yeah. And it's like, bum, 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 spooky twist. Oh, my goodness.
So then he just goes back to the house. He's like,
I was
there we go.
already really over this film when that happened. I was like, oh, fucking hell, there you go.
You're just like, good for you, movie.
Yeah.
Well done. So yeah, he goes back to the house, and the house seems to be empty. He's looking for his family. And then he comes into the kitchen, and everyone is there at the table, but it's not breakfast time. Everyone's dead.
Yeah.
Actually, it is breakfast time because I think there's cornflakes out.
This is actually a pretty cool shot, though. It was pretty fucking
so
cool.
The whole family's dead. The heads are back on.
I would have fucking loved to have seen all the family members sitting around the table except for Nora, who's fucking decapitated.
And the son as well. Maurice had his head chopped off.
Oh,
too.
yeah, fucking hell.
They
Mate,
should have had their heads plopped.
Charles didn't look too hot in this scene, did he?
No, he was a mess.
Fucking hell.
So yeah, they're all there, dead and bloodied, and it's just really, it's quite funny. Like, it's kind of disturbing, but it's also funny because Richard's like, oh no. and just like the cornflakes on the table and just everything's so weird. And suddenly from behind a hand grabs him.
Yeah.
And who is it?
It's fucking Aunt Martha.
She's finally arrived.
She's
here.
actually real.
Aunt Martha. Tell me why. My God, what's happened to us all? Why?
I don't know, my dear nephew. I mean, I only got here this moment, you see.
Yeah, Richard's asking her, like, why did you do this?
Yeah. But and so she was like, I don't know. I just got here, you see.
Yeah, she sort of tells the story of what happened. She fills in the gaps, finally.
Oh, yeah.
So Richard's mother used to leave Richard with her a lot. She used to look after Richard. They had a really good relationship. But then Richard's mother decided to steal all of Martha's money and have her locked up. And
As if that's just like a simple thing to do.
yeah.
I was gonna
thinking that,
have
yeah.
my sister committed.
Yeah.
Like,
We should test it out. One of us should try and get the other one committed. Yeah, she's saying like, yeah, you could have helped me to Richard, and Richard's like, I was just a kid. I didn't understand what was going on. But then Martha points out, well, now you're not a kid, and you've just been enjoying my money this whole time. So there you go. But then the camera pulls out. Martha's bloody gone. She was just a vision.
oh yeah.
Oh, God.
I you know what? I really had enough of this film.
But I will say the next scene is the only other thing I remembered from this because it is so disgusting.
Oh, it does get pretty grim.
So we finally the basement.
Oh.
Yeah. So
But was it established how he actually got in? Because he couldn't get in for the whole film.
well, he just opens it.
That was fucking open, isn't it?
Yeah, he just opens it.
So he goes into the basement and he finds the real Martha, who is in the bed in the basement, and her face has been completely like eaten alive by maggots.
It is disgusting. So this is real
fucking
maggots.
grim.
Yeah. While we're cutting to that as well, we're also seeing like this weird toy. Do you see that? Like spinning around. And it's got like an executioner with an axe about to chop someone's head off.
Yes, there was that. Yeah.
Quite a cool prop, but very pointless.
But I was also... like, Martha, like, she's not fucking decomposed. It's just her face is completely mutilated. And like, it's completely caved in. But the rest of her seems... pretty alright.
Not too bad.
Considering she's being eaten alive by maggots.
It's so creepy as well because it's in this gross basement and she's just in this bed.
Yeah.
Just sitting there covered with maggots. And then we get the, like, seriously made me gag. And this is like the second time I've seen this. Thomas, old mate, the caretaker.
Nice guy, Thomas.
It's this really close-up shot of her maggot-covered face. And he wipes away some of the maggots. Which I guess was the actor's request, and then leans in and kisses the face of the corpse, and you can actually see the actor sort of wincing as he's doing it. He clearly doesn't want to do this, so it feels very like Norman Bates as well. So we've had that shower scene, and then this also feels quite Psycho-esque as well. And yeah, he basically gives this massive speech.
Yeah,
that is basically explaining everything, right?
Yeah. He's all like, I did it for you and all that bollocks.
Yeah. So he's killed everybody. He did it for her. Do we know why?
No. I don't know what their relationship was.
My memory of the first time watching this was that he was like her son or something, like illegitimate son. But watching it again, I'm like, no.
I actually don't know what their connection was.
Yeah. Anyway, guess he just was a very caring caretaker. That's why he's called a caretaker.
Oh.
But yeah, so he's killed everyone and yada yada yada.
It is pretty long-winded, yeah. And then he sees Richard.
Yeah, that's right. So Richard's watching all this. He's like, I see you there. You could have saved her. And once again, kisses the maggoty face for a second time. And then the two of them have this very long and very stupid fight that kind of reminded me of a shitter version of
They Live.
They Live. It's just this fight that just goes for ages of the two of them fighting. Eventually, Richard gets knocked out with a punch, and Thomas comes over with an axe, and just as he's about to smash Richard's face with the axe, we get a sudden cut.
Yeah.
And we get a very dumb extra ending.
Oh, yeah. So we cut back to the beginning of the film where Georgia, the daughter, goes to hug Richard in the car and they narrowly miss the truck, right? But actually, they collided with the truck and they all died in the car accident. Except for Richard. And it's like the big fucking twist ending.
Yeah.
And I guess he is living... Like, it was kind of... It didn't quite make sense because Martha was saying that he has to survive and, like, suffer.
Yeah. So they died in the car crash, he survived, but then Martha's voiceover is like, you mustn't die. Not until you've suffered as much as I did. So I guess he's, like, paralyzed or like I don't know, like,
but we don't
really know.
We don't know.
That was sort of my assumption, but yeah,
it doesn't actually make sense.
Yeah.
Say for example, if he went to the to Martha's house on his own, like so in the film he's with his family.
Yeah.
But let's say in this timeline they all died and he went on his own. And this happened in a few times in different movies before, and we kind of get those weird subtle hints that he might be alone, maybe his family might be dead at some point, but we get these weird scenes of them all being killed and him like interacting with them like as it was completely normal.
Yeah.
So the whole thing of like them dying and him being alive but still living this timeline does not make sense.
It's really meaningless.
The film just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's the only kind of bit of like a weird sort of dreamy fantasy sort of thing that we get, other than the fact that all the dialogue sounds like it's from a dream and none of it actually makes any sense. But the bit where he goes to the graves is the only kind of part that's a bit like, ooh, like spooky. But other than that, as you say, it plays out like it's all just happening for real. But yeah, so this kind of ending, though, is it's not the first time I've seen a kind of silly tacked on ending like this in this kind of era of Italian cinema. So Fulci has done this a couple of times himself. So have you seen House of Clocks?
No, I haven't.
So, all right, spoiler warning for House of Clocks and Sodom's Ghost. But yeah, House of Clocks is one that ends with everyone being like, oh, it was all a dream.
Right.
And then they get killed again in the last scene. And then Sodom's Ghost from memory, it's like these guys going to a haunted house with all these like Nazis killing them and stuff. And then they all wake up at the end.
Right.
And walk away and it was all a dream. Like, why did you do that?
They love it. They love
that
it.
shit. And all through, like, yeah, lots of Italian films, like the Italian horrors, they love doing that. I mean, here I can... No, I was going to say here I can see more of a point to it, but not really.
No.
It's pretty ridiculous.
This film was a mess.
Yeah, yeah.
And there were so many things that kind of made me think about other films. Like, for example, that Poltergeist-esque scene. That didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
So I do wonder if Fulci or the other people involved in this saw that and were like, let's fucking whack a Poltergeist scene. And
kind of an interesting point, because when I was watching a lot of Fulci interviews for this and trying to, find little bits and pieces about this film's production, which I couldn't find that much, but Fulci talks a lot about like American films ripping off Italian films. And the whole time he was saying it, I'm like, I love you, Fulci, but I just watched The Murder Secret that literally recreated Psycho and Poltergeist, and like the Italian films love to borrow from other films.
Yeah, they totally do. I'm not saying obviously this is no innovator by any means, but that final kind of like twist also made me think of Beetlejuice.
Oh, what? Wait, what happens at the end of Beetlejuice?
So Beetlejuice starts off with a car accident, which is like they narrowly survive, and then later find out that they actually died during this car crash. And I was I wonder if Tim Burton saw this, because this is clearly the innovator of the genre. But
imagine that if Tim Burton saw this film and it inspired Beetlejuice. Just the ending. He's like, pretty good idea.
But no, this film is a fucking mess.
Yeah.
It is such a mess. But like, hearing what you said about the beginning, like these made-for-TV films, when I was watching this, I felt like this feels exactly like one of those made-for-TV like thrillers, like Murder, She Wrote-esque thrillers that middle-aged housewives will watch at home at 3 p.m. But then Fulci's on board and just threw a ton of gore inside.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that as well, because in that same interview, he talks about how much he hates Murder, She Wrote.
Oh, really?
Just as a weird like side thing.
But no, it totally felt like that. Just like a very, very bog standard, like not too risky, made for TV thriller.
Yeah.
But then chucked in a load of gore.
That's sort of that's the main reason I chose it. So yeah, obviously that kid scene is absolutely fucked. But it was more the way that this film plays out, where it is like watching a very shitty soap opera, very artlessly made, and then, as you say, just these utterly fucked violent, like so violent. Like those two scenes of the kids are unbelievably violent, and it just feels so shocking and out of place. And I would imagine seeing, I know it never actually was on TV, but imagine seeing that on TV. You're like watching that at like 2 a.m. and it's just chugging along. You're like, got some boring ghost film, and then suddenly you get a kid getting his head chainsawed off. It's just so fucking crazy. And also just the way everyone interacts and the unbelievably horribly like laid out narrative. Like, it's so fucked.
It's a terrible movie.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy watching this film,
Really?
but it is objectively not a good film.
I watched it for the first time the whole way through. A couple of days ago. But by the time like the good stuff finally kicked off, which was around like the 50 minute 1 hour mark, I was already just like, this fucking film, man, this is pissing me off. Like, because nothing happened. And so by the time the good stuff did start to happen, I was already like semi checked out. So this morning I rewatched it from the 1 hour mark.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's pretty fucking good.
I think also, like, maybe that's one point that we're different on, is that I really like this kind of Italian stuff. Like, very... Like, I know it's not good, but I love the kind of hazy... Yeah, that kind of shitty soap opera feel. Like, I kind of enjoy it quite a lot, and I love the bad dubbing. So I can tolerate a lot of the shittiness. In fact, I enjoy it.
You enjoy the...
and then the gory stuff is like a little treat at the end.
The shittiness is good for a certain amount of time, but when there's like an hour of shittiness, I mean, that's quite a lot to endure.
Yeah. But yeah, quite a fascinating film, though. Like, just the production of it and then what it became with Cat in the Brain. So yeah,
it's actually interesting that you say that, though, because Cat in the Brain is quite well known.
Yeah, so I guess
this one not so much.
A lot of people listening to this podcast would have seen scenes from this film, right? As you would have as well.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's probably the best way to watch this film is don't watch this film, just watch A Cat in the Brain, because that's actually a great film.
The best way to watch this film is to just not watch this film. I would totally agree.
All right, on the wrongometer, shall we go to there? So wrongometer, how wrong the movie is, how much it shouldn't exist, how fucked up it is, how weird it is. This is, I mean, it's always tough to give these ratings. Do you have anything in mind? I actually haven't thought about it.
You know what? You might be disappointed with this, but I'm going to give it a 6.
You know what? I'm also going to give it a 6.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, because we've seen much worse than this as well.
Yeah.
Oh, but that kid. I'm going to go 6.5.
Oh,
give it a little...
dirty bastards.
Half an extra point for that.
The story behind it is fascinating. It is, and to like you said, what it became, Cat in the Brain, and the backstories behind the people involved it's a very interesting story. But just the product itself, it was a schlep to get through, Dave. I'm not gonna lie.
I had a good time.
Oh,
but if you want to watch A Cat in the Brain as well, that's quite easy to find. So there's a really good Blu-ray out from Grindhouse releasing with lots of good extras that I watched in preparation for this. And it's also, if you don't want to buy that Blu-ray, it's up on Tubi. We love Tubi. Everything's on Tubi. Tubi's the best.
I think
it's free.
Is it free?
Tubi's fucking free, mate.
Oh, fucking hell.
Gotta get on there. Literally every time I'm like, I want to watch... I feel like watching Mosquito Man tonight. Is it on Tubi? Yep.
Wait, do you work for Tubi? You just like push it?
When you get on there, you'll be fucking sounding like you work for Tubi.
Follow us on tubi.com /
Actually, tubitv.com.
Oh, sorry. Jesus.
All right, what's next week?
Ooh, not next week. Next time.
Oh, fuck, I always do that. Yeah. What's next time?
Next time, I am absolutely delighted to talk about Shozen Fukui's Metal Days.
Yay.
You heard it here first. Because no one else is talking about this film. It is impossible to find.
And please don't ask us where to find it, because Guy has it on VHS, I think.
We'll talk about it more next time.
Okay, so please follow us on Twitter at SMSW Podcast. That's on Twitter. You could also send us an email at showmesomethingwrong@gmail.com. Got a few emails recently, so that was nice. Yeah,
thank
you. Tell you about that later. That was very nice. And please give us a cheeky rating on Apple Podcasts. Just head there. Not a 1, please. Not a 2, not a 3, not a 4. Give us a 5. And do a review. And of course, as always, tell your mum about the podcast too. Mums love it.
Mums and aunts.
Got a lot of good feedback from mums, so that's good.
Thanks, mums. See you next time.
What a nut.